Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. All right. Welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. With me today is Kelly, who's been on our podcast before, kind of a instrumental piece in this whole film festival we're putting in, and then Alan as well. And I'm going to just let you guys do the talking, but tell everybody here who you are, your background, what got you to this space, what motivates you to do what you have done and what you are doing right now. So let's start with Alan. You're the closest to me.
Sure. Well, my name is Alan Lacy, and I am the executive director, chief filmmaker over at Real Earth Films. And we're a new nonprofit here in Arizona, and our whole goal and mission is to basically produce natural history films, environmental films, and find new ways to kind of change the current model of filmmaking. And not only do we make films that create awareness, but the most important thing to me is how can it give back? You know, because so many natural history films, or just films in general, are extractive. We go in, we work with biologists, researchers, scientists, whoever our subjects are, and we spend weeks, months, whatever it is, working with them to get our story, and then we're off to the next project, and then they're left kind of holding the bag going, how does this help me, other than maybe a few eyeballs on their mission, which is important, but now we're finding ways to give back with whether it's funding, research, equipment, resources, whatever their needs are, we can find ways to match it through our nonprofit. So that's, in a nutshell, what
That's great. So I can see a segue for how we doing that. And then Kelly.
Hi, yes, I'm Kelly Sallaway, and I am one of the directors, I guess, and the film person for this Skyfire Environmental Film Festival. So what I've been doing for a living, first I started out as an event producer, why this isn't that scary to me. Then I became a film producer, and I do unscripted or documentary films only. And in the course of my career, I just in the last 3 years, I'd say I have been working on environmental films, and we just produced a feature for public television that we finished, and now I'm just deep into the Skyfire Festival, and it's an important thing for all of us to be doing. I was, willing to just jump in, and I think that it's just going to be amazing. It's amazing that it's just a theme of just environmental, very important. We've had I'm doing the programming, and so for people that don't know about film festivals, they go over 1 day to 10 days or, weeks and weeks. And this is a full weekend festival that's going to be in Phoenix, Tempe, and Mesa, March 27th through the 29th. And we have blocks of films, and they're anywhere from 1 minute to an hour and a half, for a full feature film. And so we've been getting these entries from all over the world. And they are, it's been really a delight to see all the films that have come in from multiple countries, from China, Russia, Iran, Iraq, and, then all over the United States. And we've really had to push on to some of the youth categories for high school and university films. And we've got so many students that have entered films that we have more students than any other category.
And once again, I look and say, I sit back, try not to do too much my own bias, because I really don't know anything about this stuff. So, but you and Joe have kind of coordinate all the time on different things. And first of all, the name Skyfire, I was like, who wants that? Right? What's that? I think I came up with the name. It must not have been that good because I don't remember it. But the deal is when we were podcasting in Mongolia, in a yurt in the middle of nowhere with a nomadic family, right? They started talking about, they're indigenous people to that part of the world, and they talked about Skyfire. And then I met people at a conference, Native Americans in Las Vegas, and they were talking Skyfire. I was like, what? What do you even? So obviously it means something to different people. But it's so cool name. The other thing is when you guys started, Joe started talking about bringing students in and student filmmakers. I was like, this isn't like a high school production of like, you know, a play or something. This isn't what the point of it is. And you guys were like, no, we got to bring this stuff in. And now, then I started to think, well, our entire nonprofit is about education. It's preschool to high school education. And what a better way to educate kids about what's happening around the world than to bring people in from around the world. And movies are a great way to showcase that. And on top of it, we got a lot of people, sponsors, individual people who just donate money they can't go to more than one seat. So they're buying tickets for different kids in schools from high school to college and filmmakers where they may not be able to afford to do it, but we want to fill the seats with. And then I came up with an idea of giving away tickets to senior centers, right? Why wouldn't we? So I would love it to see nothing but seniors and kids from college down. The rest of us, we've already made our minds up. We're already busy, but people who are actually listening, to what's happening, that would be great to have. But so, you guys brought that whole thing, and then you've picked, so I haven't even seen one movie, but you're picking, I don't know how you guys go through so many
we picked
movies.
92 movies so far.
Out of control. That's just like insane
so
to me.
So far, 92
right?
movies
and
that are great.
I guess a lot of them are like really good in some of these films. So what's crazy is I've podcasted now with 3 or 4 of the kid filmmakers. I'm going to call them kids. I'm sorry. They're 17-year-old young adults or whatever, 20-year-olds, whatever they are. But there was 3 girls from Turkey that are we did a podcast with them maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. They're almost at 500,000 people that have watched that podcast. And now the other one's the kid from Ireland. That I talked to. And they're like, I can't believe how like articulate these young people are, and it's kind of refreshing.
But it's one of those things that it's just gives you hope, I guess, and they're hopeful, and plus because of technology, we'll say, kids are a lot more, they're just so much more
I
familiar.
couldn't do what they're doing.
No, they
camera
with YouTube and camera, but they can do this with an iPhone. You can create a movie with your iPhone.
And they're talking about editing. This young guy in Ireland said that he took 3 or 4 or 5 months to film.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, couldn't I do that like in one day?
It doesn't happen that way.
Could I just take my phone out and do that for a day? And then he's like, and then I spend, 40, 50 hours a week editing. If I edit like even an email, it's like a minute. That's probably why my emails aren't that good. But, it is amazing how much work, and they're learning how to do it. Some of them may want to be filmmakers or storytellers of some sort, but just the idea, some of them immerse themselves in the project that they're working on and want to be problem solvers.
Well, it's a lot of work, and that's why you have to be pretty passionate about it, and you have to be immersed in that subject. I mean, his was about illegal dumping, which I didn't know was a big deal in Ireland. Now I've learned something about that.
It's a big deal everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. And and it was just like
mostly in the U.S. from what I can tell.
Yeah, and so it's like it's good to think about, but it does really get them going for the future, whether it's thinking about the environment or thinking that they might want to do film or some other thing that's gonna impact.
So I did one yesterday, the day before, with a young lady from Seoul, Korea. Again, very articulate. She had lived in the U.S. She had lived in Norway. Her project was in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, which I was just in October. And I was like, who knows about that? I mean, I didn't even know the place existed until I traveled there. And beautiful country, 90% mountains and that kind of thing. And but I learned, hey, they were under the Soviet Union. And half the people would prefer to live back in the Soviet time, or they were doing things. The other half are happy that they've entered the commercial, whatever we want to call our space now, our
the Western world,
democratic, whatever terminology we use for it, right? Half of them are happy to do that. But she was doing one on 3 communities. I think she said 16,000 people living on a landfill. And they are mining the landfill for their sustenance, their energy. They burn and for their energy. Meanwhile, though, landfills can have toxic things in it, right? And so the kids are at risk. And so it's like, where do you come up with the idea?
Yeah, but you
of
still
doing
have the
that?
point of view in that film, because like I said, I did watch 92 films. In that film, the big question was like, what do you do about this landfill? Because the people that were living there, making a living on that landfill, living there, they didn't want to see it go away. The
course
people
not,
that were
yeah.
outside of there, like, oh, that's an eyesore, it needs to go away. But this was their livelihood. And so it did a really good, it was a great balance between those.
So the environment,
things.
when we talk environment, we're not talking about a natural environment per se, because yeah, it'd be great. Somebody shows some natural rivers that were not human touched or something coming out of a fjord somewhere. That's beautiful to see that, but we're really talking about how men have changed or altered the environment. And you could say for better or worse. We're all 8 billion of us. We need to live in this world, but that's so. When we're talking about the environment, we're really talking about the man's intervention with the environment, right? And so we talk about the history of our relationship. To me, is always agriculture based because we need to get our textiles to eat. Everything we have to work with the environment or harness it or fight it or whatever your stance is on how we treat the environment. And I think that's what I'm seeing with something that like you're talking about. It's also economics.
Right, it's
So
economics.
economics are again the study of men and how we, and I say men, I should say people, but how we literally negotiate or barter our way through this life, and how we try to create these various incentives to make changes. Sometimes those changes have unintended consequences. So if you shut the landfills down, what would those people do
Yeah,
for
what can they do?
work, right? And I look at landfills from a standpoint. She talked about incineration, which creates toxic gases unless they're filtered or whatever. But we're talking about waste in general. Same thing the boy in Ireland was talking about. If we could source separate, which does not attack any industry. We're not fighting oil or big ag or anything. Just source separate our stuff. We have the ability to recycle, repurpose, reuse, and eliminate a lot of that. But what do people do for a living? We're in a really weird, I guess we've always been in a weird time since we've been humans, but now we got this AI thing.
Oh, what is that going to do?
And we know
That's the
that
next big thing.
creators and filmmakers and musicians are like, wait a second, we're going to lose our jobs doing some of this. People, who live off of that landfill, same concept. So what happens? How do we adjust to make jobs for people that are displaced? And in times of past, when the world changed slower, we'd have times to adjust, right? Now, I think the world is significantly changing every, the kids call it 6 years, right? It's really changing every 2 weeks
Yeah.
with
Yeah, a
AI.
couple of weeks.
So how are we all going to adjust?
think
And
that-
these are big,
yeah,
big questions,
Big
right?
questions, but again, really complex questions for somebody so young and for all these young filmmakers. And I have a question for Alan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Alan's just about to become a father for the first time, right?
First time,
First
kiddo.
time, and
Any day.
not to get too deep on this, but I was wondering, like, with a lot of people your age are deciding not to have kids, and I was wondering about what was it about your work in particular that gives you hope for the future, and why you would, want to bring a family and to, and it's got to be something that's in you, but also in your work. So tell me how you're
Absolutely.
working.
No, I think for me, when you look at the state of the world where we're sitting at, and again, all these environmental issues that we see on a daily basis, you can get easily caught up in all that, and you can lose hope pretty quickly if you really focus on all the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
But what inspires me every day, there's a quote that one of my good friends, his name's David H. Johnson. He's actually the main featured character in my Burrowing Owl film, and he lives by this quote, and I've internalized it. He says, "What can I do today when I wake up in the morning that's going to change something for the future 100 years from today?" So it's about how do you give hope? How do you do something now that's going to have a positive outcome? You know, and being a first-time father, I'm pretty excited about being able to teach him, as a boy, about nature, about the
That
world.
was my question. You blew it.
And just it's a beautiful thing to like just really dive into, the beauty of the natural world, what we can do to take care of it, and we need more champions like that. So like, yeah, there's a lot of people who aren't deciding to have kids, and not to say anything that's a bad choice. It's just my choice is to have a child to show them the beauty of the world, help them fall in love with it. I mean, it's the whole purpose of my films is getting people to connect to nature, to connect to the environment, to fall in love with it. Because if you can connect, you can fall in love. If you fall in love, you can actually do something about it because you want to protect it, save it for.
Were you from Arizona?
I was born in California, West Coast guy. I've lived all over the West Coast. So,
Okay.
but Arizona probably a good chunk of my life, actually.
Okay, great. So your latest endeavor is in the nonprofit. Are you trying to survive off that, or do you have another job too? Is it just like one of the? Now you have another job. You're gonna be a father.
Well, up until this point, I've been able to survive off of the nonprofit, but it's been a journey to get to that point. But now having a family, we're gonna have to like really work hard to increase our ability to provide for that.
out.
But for the most part, I've been able to do that through the nonprofit, which has been actually incredible to be able to say that I've launched a nonprofit. I'm doing what I love, making a difference, and sustaining.
So how do we? Because Joe and I just took Joe to Sundance. As you know, Joe gets tunnel vision with whatever he's working on. Joe's not going to watch this. He doesn't want to hear me. So don't worry. But the thing is I brought him there because I wanted to show him what a film festival could be, and I think he was shocked because it's the entire city of Park City, even parts of the rest of the state were all involved years gone by, but now less so because they're out of there.
Yep.
But when you go there, it's not really Park City; it's Sundance City.
Right, it's everywhere.
Right, and so my concept to Joe is, if we do this right over the next few years, you feel a vibe.
Absolutely,
you're flying in from some part of the world to go to this film festival and to see Arizona. To see. Because this is kind of in a lot of places, just coming to the States is a big thing. But to come to here, to Arizona, and I kind of share the vision of Michael Crow with ASU that we become like this innovation hub. But it's sustainable innovation. It's something you're working with the environment, you're working with people. It's a lot of moving parts, but we're seeing Arizona emerging as this leading state, and we're getting a variety of different people and non-political. I mean, we're getting everybody under the sun, which is great, and we're getting this community support right now. So I've wandered, but my whole point here is part of Sundance is that connectivity, filmmakers to writers, to actors, to producers, to the money people, to which are producers, I think, but to all the different people in between, the people who work in the industry, right? So your organization is there to try to help with that connectivity, and you're the one kind of bringing people in. And I'm the one who knows nothing about any part of this, but I love the idea of you kind of like piggybacking and saying, this is my film festival, and I'm going to hook up all these, because I have talked to a bunch of sponsors who have some great stories, and I'm like, why don't you do your own little documentary? Keep it short. Create an activation space where you can have your client base come here, and you can support some of these things. Maybe have Kelly help you select the film that resonates with you, and then that kind of thing. But as by next year, submit your own documentary to the space, and some of them have the money to do it, but they don't have a filmmaker to do it,
Right.
or a creator to do
it's
it.
funny, you
And that's
mention
the great part of this thing, right? For people in the industry.
Well, it's funny you mention that because one of our goals with my nonprofit and with Real Earth Films is eventually to get to a point where we can partner with other organizations. A lot of nonprofits just don't have budgets to tell their story.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can look at corporate opportunities too, but for me, nonprofit world, there's so many amazing stories and organizations that are doing environmental work that just can't tell their story.
No, of course not.
So that's like
It's
something
just
I'm-
it's surviving till next
Exactly.
week.
So that's
is
one
the
of our
challenge.
goals, is to be able to do that at some point in the future, where we can
Yeah.
just like pro bono work with them and tell those stories.
One of the great things we're doing with Skyfire is not just films. And if you like films, great. And it's all, but we also have, even for our first year, we have some amazing seminars going on. And they're for filmmakers, and they're for all kinds of people. There's just
Absolutely.
environmental. We have a seminar that's just how to get certified as a green set. This is something that they've been trying to do in Hollywood for a long time, and kind of came on strong for a while, and then sort of, I don't know what happened to that. But you can actually take a class, and it's a full course to take, and it's run by the people who do lead certification now. And so it's a pretty, robust course. And we've got one of our Colin O'Brien, who's one of our team members here, has gone to LA, taken the course himself. He's coming back and he's teaching this to anybody who's a filmmaker or producer in Arizona that wants to come to this class to learn how to run a green set and to get green set certified.
That's phenomenal.
Which is really
and we just
key.
had
Yeah.
Bill. We had Bill on, who was running the Phoenix Film Office
Commission, yeah.
He's the commissioner for that,
Yeah.
and he's there to be a resource. But does he have all the resources? Well, something like this is a
Yeah.
phenomenal resource. What I loved about Sundance was, honestly, I've gone to lots of film festivals, and some of the films are phenomenal. I love documentaries more than anything. Some of them ran on and on and on, and I'm like, hey, there's 2 more films I want to catch somewhere else, and some of them were like, okay, maybe they weren't as good or whatever. That's part of it, right? It's all gambling.
Yeah.
When you gamble, if you won every time, you'd be bored. So once in a while you really win, and sometimes you're like, But I think that's the thing that what I noticed wasn't necessarily the movies, because I'm not the film guy. What I noticed was all the panel discussions.
Oh, yeah.
With the actors or the writers or the filmmakers. In Sundance, we went with was so many really good panels of people who are brilliant. One of the guys was one of the initial YouTube guys, and he talked so fast I couldn't think as fast as he talked, but he was brilliant. He's talking about algorithms and how this, that, or the other, but and how the film industry is changing, because everything changes, right? And the film industry is part of it. So they had a frank discussion on that. They had a lot of these different panel discussions would talk about the movie itself, and then ideally, what I'd love to see is when the actors come, celebrities come, and they're supportive of the work we're doing
Right.
here.
We have all that going on at the festival. So how they get programmed is in blocks of movies, so that you're there sitting there for a couple hours. So you get to see a bunch of short films, then you get to see a feature film, and then after that you get the Q&A, and then it is the Q&A, the panel
That's the best part
discussions
to me.
is the best part.
Yeah.
And well, it's the reason that you go out, you get dressed and you go out somewhere. You can watch movies at home, but the reason you go to a festival is that it's just this, great buzz, because you're in a big room with a lot of people, and the filmmakers are there, and they're, and the other people that are in the room are able to ask questions. And it's not, and the questions for environmental films, when I've done panels and things afterwards, it's not like, oh, how did you get this shot? It's, a movie. It's not that. It was more like, they dive right into the subjects of those films, and they really get into it.
Well, some of the
That's
crazy,
the fun part.
It is. Some of the crazy thing is you did a 10-minute documentary, and it took 5 years. And I'm just like, hey, I'm not a film guy, right? But I'm like, come on, that's like, how did that happen?
No, that happens a lot.
It should 10 minutes. All right,
No.
you got 20 minutes to do it. It doesn't work that way. To do something of quality, you were there from season to season
takes
to
years and
season,
years, yeah.
and you were, and it's just like really writing a book. Your first draft, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, this is so bad, and then you stay away from it, and then all of a sudden, you've learned some new experiences, or you've done some reading, and now all of a sudden you've changed the book a little and a little and a little, and it just takes to make something of quality. just takes time. It's a horrible, horrible process for
Well,
those,
especially in the
for
work,
those people who create. It's like
well, in the work that
really
I do
hard.
too is like, it's not just time for, telling a story, but like with wildlife, you have to spend
Oh my God, yeah.
like months at a time sometimes waiting for a very particular shot, and that's just one shot in your sequence. So then you're talking years.
Well, we're in Africa quite a bit, and I go to lots of safaris and try to take a picture of a kill. Forget about it. I've been there for
It's
6
not the
years.
same
I've
thing.
done so many,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really, because you're there. The animals, oh, they don't notice you. Yeah, they do. But whatever. You're sometimes you see something that just happened or whatever, or them mating or something. That they're doing that, and then I go back and I watch. Like the Wildlife Channel. And as a kid, I never watched the animal channels at all. I was just like, okay, it's kind of cool, but okay, you know. And now I watch and I see some of these some of this work, and I'm like, it's impossible. Is this made up? Is this AI? How he'd have to be there for 6 months,
This is
like
this is what he does for a living here.
swimming in mud for how is it possible to get some of that stuff? And to me, that's kind of the story that's so incredible.
Well, this is
right?
Alan's story, so I must say that Alan does this for a living because he's a wildlife cinematographer. And we have, over the weekend, we have 2 opportunities to meet Alan and talk to him. One is we're showing one of his movies, which is the Burrowing Owls, which is made in Arizona. And it's called A Love Story, and you'll have to explain that part. But it's a really wonderful wildlife film. And on Sunday, we're going to be at the Arizona Science Center. So at 4 o'clock, we're opening the doors. We're going to show some of the movies that are local, with local kids and high school kids and all kinds of stuff that's these winning films from the youth category. And then at 5 o'clock on Sunday, the 29th, at the Arizona Science Center, we're going to have Alan Lacy, and he is going to give one of these amazing seminars, and it's going to be just about what you're talking about, how to get those amazing shots. It's sort of a mini masterclass in wildlife cinematography.
So
this
question
is
for
what
you.
he's gonna
You
do.
were kind of connected a little with National Geographic. Did I work there or something? Did I hear that?
Yeah, so I've worked on programs that National Geographic has aired. There's a show called Supernatural. It was on Disney Plus, National Geographic. I've checked recently just before it came on, and apparently they pulled it off for some reason, but which is kind of a bummer. But and for those of you who are watching, you can also go to PBS Nature right now and check out a show called Parenthood that's narrated by David Attenborough. And in the episode,
He's
I
a
believe
fairly well known.
he's a fairly well known guy. Just
And you got him.
yeah, just
be part
figured
of,
out, hey,
part of
let's
a project
just
with
get him on.
That's
And
pretty good.
so episode 5, I'll have some shots of burrowing owls inside their burrows that he narrates to, which is pretty cool.
So how do you learn how? I went to school in architecture like a million years ago, right? And I had to take a photography class, and it was back when we had to develop the film and everything else. I could take a million shots and not get one good shot. It's to me, it all came down to luck. If a good shot came out, right? But then I did go on the National Geographic Explorer in the Galapagos, and they spend time showing us how to do photography using the iPhone, using this, that, or the other, which I retained for roughly that week that I was there, and I still can't really. I think I know how to put. No, you know what? I forgot how to put the grid on even. So how did you get? How did you get?
Are you going to share
training in
some
that?
secrets on your seminar?
Yeah, so what I'll say is, like, this is also kind of a preview for what we're going to talk about, or I'm going to talk about for the thing. But one of the tricks, I think, to getting good shots in nature is, one, understanding who your subject is. If you're filming, I don't know, like a raccoon,
Sharks.
like, learn the behavior of the raccoon, and then they're nocturnal, so if I need to film them, try to find an area where they frequent, understand their natural behavior, what food they like, and set up in those areas. So if you're looking to film raccoons, you're going to go like, they're probably going to be raiding someone's garbage can. So set up outside, get reports from the local community. Do they see them? Then you can put yourself in the most optimum spot to actually film them when they come through. Same thing applies where there's lions.
Or not. You can just sit there for a month.
Yeah, you can sit there for a month and just wait. But if you can do a little research on the front end and figure out from community word reported sightings, you increase your chances. Now, if you're doing this out in the wild, let's say you want to film wolves here in Arizona, which I've been doing, really tough. You're looking at behavior. How do they move on the landscape? What corridors are they moving through? how often they're getting hit on trail cameras, and you really narrow down your focus to high movement concentrated areas. And that's, yes, it's a lot of work, but it pays off.
With my landscape company, we started doing native plant removal 40 years ago. We were one of the early groups that dug native trees in boxes and cactus and that kind of things. So I had to walk back before the GIS or any of that, and I had to manually do these inventories of properties that were thousands of acres, and I'd get lost half the time, but I got spatially aware a little bit, climbing up and down, and we dug everything. So I got, fairly aware of the soils and of, what made something live and not live, but I didn't do it on purpose. I was like being fed this environmental idea. I was trying to, bill as much as I could bill. Every tree was worth $500 or whatever. So, but we ended up digging down in Tucson and every place in the state, and I've learned that way. And I do remember a day where I was doing an inventory and I saw this snake. I think they call it a red stripe or a red racer or something, and it like literally shot up in 1 second time. It shot up a cholla, a chain fruit cholla, and in the cholla there were eggs, like quail eggs, and it literally went in and it attacked a quail egg, and within another split second, a hawk zooms in and takes the snake. Of course, where's my camera? I had no camera, right? And I'm like, what just happened here? So it's
those moments you can't really plan for, but they're definitely like the more time you spend in there, the more opportunity for something insane like that to happen. So if you just put the time in, you're going to get pretty cool opportunities.
That sounds like something from Hostile Planet.
Right.
So what kind of animals have you photographed, and
why do you pick those?
And which ones do you want to?
So I got my career started filming wolves here in the state, and so they've always been something I've been passionate about. But wolves, to lions in Africa, to burrowing owls, obviously. Been in Yellowstone a bunch. To Aruba, filmed there. I think one of my favorite animals I've filmed so far has probably been the Mexican wolf here in Arizona, because they're the most hard, elusive. You can go to Yellowstone and see wolves, but who can say they've been in Arizona to see wolves?
And where are they down along the border?
The wolves here in the state are eastern side. They're like the White Mountains primarily.
Okay.
So anywhere from like Greer, Show Low, all the way. And there's actually a couple in Payson now. Okay. Yeah, Far East. And then all of that same kind of region, but on the west side of New Mexico as well. But Mexico is starting to introduce their own population, so that could come up from the border at some point.
Oh.
Yeah.
And wolves would be one of those more difficult.
They're super challenging to find just here in the state because it's so wooded. Whereas Yellowstone, you get these big open, like Lamar Valley, where you can see them for miles. We have very few places like that where you can actually do like proper wolf watching, is what they call it. And then our packs here tend to range in wide areas, so it's just it's kind of luck of the draw.
So what happens now? You're about to be a dad.
Yeah.
You got the nonprofit that can anchor you here.
So right now I'm really focused on a new project that I'm really excited about, partnering with Arizona PBS. Real close to getting ready to launch this, but it's like a Planet Earth style film series, but focused on Arizona. So talking about the biodiversity. Great. Most people don't realize it, but Arizona
got more biodiversity.
Yeah, it's one of the most biodiverse. Right, right. I'm glad you know that. It's
right where the wall was about to get erected, right?
Exactly.
Separate natural pathways and that kind of thing.
So we're focused on talking about because Arizona has 6 of the 7 biomes, the major ecoregions biomes in the world. We just don't have marine. So each episode's gonna focus on one of those, and we're gonna really dive into the natural history, the biodiversity, the geography of the state.
So we're going to be able to see some of that footage and some of your other footage when you do your
potentially, talk? We just barely started development, so we don't have a lot yet.
You have wolves and owls.
I do have wolves.
Are we going to see those?
We are going to see those.
Okay, we want to see some of that.
Now, have you met
seminar.
Jonathan? Another. So I started talking to Joe today. We have people who are kind of promoters of what we do, supporters of what we do, and then we have sponsors. They're all different, and they all have different, things they contribute, right? Jonathan has Arizona Wilderness Bar, and he's generously let us use that. He's a big supporter, but he also had his coffee table book, which was all the. I didn't know there was like, what, 60 some
90
well,
wilderness.
wilderness areas.
Yeah.
And what amazing photos. So have you guys, you met Jonathan?
Jonathan Beaufort.
I have not met Jonathan yet. Sounds like an amazing person to
Yeah,
meet.
we'll bring him out to the festival.
I mean, it's the same thing. He had a passion to do what he's doing, but he didn't, like, if it was me and him and I was the photographer, it wouldn't be a coffee table. It just would be. It just wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So he obviously had some artistic skills with what he was doing and learning as well. But well, we are getting the hook.
Yeah, we
by
can't wait
Maria
to see
here.
some of
We
your
could go
stuff.
on and on and on about what we got, but we've got a very short amount of time to pull this thing off. We definitely want anyone who's got time to help come in and help, because we have so many details that we're dealing with right now.
There's so many great things to see. Like I said, on Friday and Saturday in Mesa at the at the Mix Center, and then Alan and his talk at the Arizona Science Center on Sunday the 29th. And you can buy a ticket just for that one day if you want to come and see his talk and see the movie.
Yeah, if you ever
the feature
wanted to know how to make a film, what goes on, the behind the scenes about how to actually get that shot.
That's
that's what
the
we're going to
talk.
see.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing is because we stage it on the light rail, we just had the CEO of the light rail on a podcast. You can fly in, and that's what I'd love more Arizonans to be involved and see all this. But the idea of people coming in from our state to see what we have, fly in, get on the light rail. You can go to a hotel here, Tempe, Mesa. Tons of restaurants, tons of things to do. Our weather's going to be sunny that time of the year. So I can predict that.
You can predict that part.
But you have, what a fun thing this is going to be,
Yeah.
and that's the whole thing is, and what I like, I guess it's panders to, or it's part of my ADHD personality type. There's no way to get it all. You can't do it. You cannot
That's
go.
what's fun.
You can't. Yeah, it's like, what do I pick? I should
can
go
pick
here.
and
I should
choose.
go here. What restaurant can I go? There's only so many times a day you can eat. So many different places. So that is what's great about this, is that everybody's got a different opportunity. And if you're here coming in from a different country, take a drive up to Sedona. Take a drive out to Tucson, or to go to the Grand Canyon. Do some of the other things that are here in our state, because this is how people, they see it and they're like, oh my God, they fall in love, and now all of a sudden they set up a business here or they move here. So anyway, I appreciate you guys being here.
Can't wait.
Definitely getting a hook. If you guys who are watching liked what you saw, please like us, please subscribe, please follow on all your social media platforms. And definitely come to the Skyfire Film Festival. We got so many great people that are part of this thing. They're the ones who are kind of the heroes behind the scene. And I think people out there watching this, hopefully we get this out sooner than later. We need help. Come on in and help. Be a volunteer. Come into any one of our community active projects that we're doing. Come watch a movie or two. Definitely be here and enjoy it, but we could use help right now. Anybody's got the time, come on in. So thank you all for joining. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, and we... Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.